Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Fractured Sky. This is designed by Max Anderson, Zach Dixon, and Austin Harrison, and is published by IV Studios. But, before we talk about it, we just want to remind you to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. We do all sorts of stuff. We do reviews, top 10s, we do skits, we do convention vlogs. You just want to make sure to subscribe so you can see all of it.
Alright, so in Fractured Sky, basically, there is a star that is in the sky that has been torn apart. It is raining down from the heavens all of these little fractures. These little fractures called Starfalls. And that is what we're trying to find. We are roaming around the board trying to find all these little pieces of Starfall so that we can win the game. Apparently, according to the lore of it, whoever finds the most Starfall, they're going to get granted a wish.
It better be a good wish.
The wish is to win the game. I wish to win the game. And then it's granted to you.
Because you got the most.
Let me give you a quick overview of how to play. Alright, here's our setup for Fractured Sky. Here's our main board. These are different areas we're going to be fighting over the board. Over here we have our different resources. We have gold, we have iron, we have wood, and we have our main resource, which is Starfall. That's the whole point of the game. That's what we're trying to get. We also have all of our player pieces over here. We do have a player shield as well. This player shield is going to kind of protect us from everyone can see what we're doing. It also gives us a reminder of what all the different costs in the game are. And then as well as that, we have two kind of player aids that are going to give us all the different things we need to know throughout the game. Starfall is going to come to us through a couple different ways. The first way is just landing on the board. So at the beginning of every round, we are going to reveal Starfall. So with this deck over here, we're just going to reveal one of them, and we know that Starfall is going to land in Creepy Cove. So we're going to set that offside, we're going to grab one of our Starfall, and we're going to put it in Creepy Cove. So that is the public deck of Starfall. We're going to know exactly where that is. However, we also have a private deck of Starfall. What's going to happen is, we're going to shuffle this up. There's one card in this deck for each one of those locations on the board, and we're going to place one of them over here. That means that's exactly where that Starfall is going to land this round. These are all the cards that is not where the Starfall is. We're just going to kind of set that off to the side for now, because we're going to get a chance to look at this deck, and therefore get some knowledge about where the Starfall isn't. Each one of these locations also has resources associated with it, so even if we don't get Starfall, we might instead get a whole bunch of resources in order to build better and better things, so in the future, when more and more Starfall is out there, we'll be more likely to get it. Each location has two different resources printed on it. What's going to happen is at the end of each round, we're going to determine who has the most strength, the most amount of troops in that particular area. And then whoever has the most strength is going to get the top most available item. So we're going to go to our little chart here, and this says, if there's a Starfall in the area, they're going to get that Starfall. If there's not, they're going to get 2 resources. And then whoever's second place would get 1 resource, and whoever is third place would get nothing. Or if there is Starfall there, then they would get the Starfall, second place would get both resources, third place would get 1 resource, so on and so forth. So basically, the more strength you have in an area, the better the resources or points that you're going to get is going to be. So how do we get strength out there? Well, the first thing is our airships. We have a whole bunch of airships lined up down here in the corner. What we're going to do is we're going to choose 3 of them. However, they have to have a total value of 10 or less. So we could do a 2, a 3, and a 5. Or we could do a 3, a 6, and a 1. We even have 2 zeros and a 10. So if you really wanted to lock and load on one particular area, you could put a couple of zeros out there as bluffs, and then put a 10 out there to really try to make sure you secure an area. So that's the main way you're going to be putting those out there. 3 airships are going to go out each turn. So the next thing we have is we have our small little skimmers. These skimmers are basically kind of a temporary boost to our areas. They're basically going to add 1 troop strength to that area. But at the end of the round, they're going to go away just the same way that their airships are going to go away. However, the next 2 things are both buildings. We have a market building and we have a fortress building. Those buildings, once you build them, they are out there for the rest of the game. The fortresses, they're basically going to add 1 strength to every adjacent area. It needs to have at least 1 of your airships there to qualify, but these little hex areas is where you're going to be placing the buildings. They exist between the areas. So all the skimmers and airships, you're going to be placing them at the actual areas. However, the buildings, the markets, and the fortresses, you're going to be placing on these areas that are adjacent to other areas. In that way, those markets and those fortresses are going to be able to affect multiple areas. Again, as long as they're touching at least 1 of your airships. The fortresses, like I mentioned earlier, they're going to add 1 to the strength of your airship. The markets, what they're going to do is they're going to add 1 to the resources that you gather in that area. So if you acquire some resources from over here, and you place a market there, which is touching both of those areas, you're going to be able to add 1 of these resources and another 1 of these resources to your resource pool at the end of that round. One thing I want to mention is the first person to go to an area, they get to explore that area. So let's say I go here and I reveal that. What's going to happen is I get to look at the top card of this deck. All right, so now I know that our hidden Starfall is not in the Peaceful Plains area. So I've kind of deduced there's not one there. I get to have that knowledge for free. I keep that card with me, so that way no one else has the same knowledge as me. But now that I know that, I might avoid that top section there, that Peaceful Plains, and I know that there's not going to be a Starfall landing there at the end of this round. So that happens for free. However, if you pay 2 gold, again, if we go back to our little divider here, our little shield, on the top, the left side over here, it shows that we can actually look at what this card is. We can actually find out for sure that at the end of the round, we know there's going to be a Starfall landing in the Woeful Wetlands. So it's really important that we know that. I mean, we would try to throw more stuff over here, try to get as much of our resources there as possible, kind of pivot to get there to make sure we get that Starfall. So we've talked about how to get the Starfall on the board. There's the public information and we have the private information. But the other way you can get Starfall is through our objectives. At the beginning of the game, we're going to lay out 5 objectives. Each round, we're going to reveal 1 of them. And if anybody made that objective, they're going to be able to score an extra Starfall. Those can be a variety of things. There might be things like have the most airships in a contested region. Or maybe it says have the fewest scouts on hidden Starfalls. Or maybe we have one that says have the most troop power in Molten Moor. So those are all different objectives, ways that you can get additional Starfall if you're able to accomplish those goals. So you can just try to stumble into those objectives. However, if you really want to make sure that you figure out what the objectives are, you can actually pay 2 of any resource or 2 random resources in order to peek at what that objective is ahead of time. And that in that way, you're going to be able to kind of work towards it as the round goes on. This is not a memory style game. If you ever peek at a card, you're going to place one of your little markers there to show that you looked at that, and then for the rest of the game, you can continue to look at that if you need to, if you've forgotten what you've looked at, because you've already earned that information. We have a little player order track over here. What's going to happen is we're going to have those all laid out there, 1 for each player, kind of a 3-player game set up here on this side of the board. What's going to happen is once you've finished all of your actions and you've placed your 3rd airship, you're going to be able to drop down your little player piece from the top half of the area to the bottom half. And in that way, you can choose whether you want to go 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. If you go last place, you also get an additional coin. But what's going to happen is, once you finish and everyone's slid down there, that's going to signal the end of the round. At the end of the round, we're going to reveal where our hidden thing was. Again, we already kind of knew that, but we'd put our Starfall there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to count up all the troop power that we've accomplished there. But next, we're going to reveal and count up all the troop power that's on the board. We're going to go through each section individually. So whoever has the most amount of strength in the Woeful Wetlands is going to be able to take any Starfalls there. And again, whoever has second most is going to be able to take the 2 resources. If anybody's 3rd place, they'll take 1 resource. And we'll do that same thing for all of those regions all over the board, taking into account all the extra things like the buildings, the markets, as well as the fortresses, and our little skimmers there. Those are temporary ships. Once all the resources have been gathered and all the points have been given out, we're going to reset for the next round. We're going to take all those pieces off there, all those circle pieces. We're going to leave all the hexagonal buildings on the board. Then we're going to start all over again. The public card that we had there, we're going to turn it over, we're going to shuffle that deck, and we're going to reveal new information. Same thing with this. We're going to shuffle this deck back up, only this time we're going to reveal 2. Or not reveal, but we're going to lay out 2 of those cards face down. Also, don't forget to check to see who was the winner of that objective that round and award them 1 Starfall. So at the end of the 5th and final round, we're going to count up all of our Starfall, and whoever has the most amount of Starfall at the end of the game wins.
So I thought it was interesting, and I liked how it restricted me with the airship token. So you have your airships, and it's 0 to 10, and you can't do any stronger than 10 collectively on the board. So if I put a 10 out there, my other 2 have to be 0 because I can't have any more. So I thought that was really an interesting way to kind of like tie my hands, but in a good way. It made me think about what I was going to do instead of just willy-nilly, because then everybody would always put up like their highest numbers all the time, but you're trying to get certain areas, and because of the game you might have information that other people don't have, so there might be a reason why you're going to the different areas. But I liked the parameters. I liked the guarding rails on that, because it made me think in a different way in order to try and play competitively.
I liked how, as you're going through and kind of controlling these different areas, it's an area control game, right? Whoever puts the most amount of power in that area, they are going to get the highest tier of good there. And that's usually going to be Starfall. If you're fighting for Starfall, there's a Starfall there. Whereas the most power gets that. Whereas second most gets the next tier down, which is taking both resources from that location. And if there's a third person there, they can take the third tier, which is taking one of the two locations, or two resources. So I like how the more power you have, the better the rewards you're going to get is. And if there's not any Starfall there, then you're just fighting over resources. So I like how no matter what, you're going to get something. If you put some effort into getting something, you're going to get at least a little bit of something there.
Yeah. And I am such a huge fan of this theme and this artwork that you're just going around trying to get pieces of star. Like, how cool is that? That's really fun. So I liked the theme and I liked the artwork. He sees into my soul. Look at those eyes. He knows what I'm thinking in my innermost thoughts.
Yikes.
Why? Why are those bad thoughts?
I don't know.
But I just really liked the artwork. I thought it was very captivating, and I thought that the theme was really fun.
I like that the buildings, they stuck around from round to round to round. Once you build them, they were out there forever. And they didn't just help out one place. They helped out multiple locations based off how many paths that they're touching. So it's important that you kind of get those out early. They're going to give you some extra resources, maybe kind of boost your power in some areas. It's going to be very influential when you're trying to break ties and things like that. If both people put out a 4 token, but you have a building, defense tower, whatever that boosts you up, you're going to win that and get the Starfall. So it's important that you get those buildings out there, keep on pumping them out there, get more resources so you can build more buildings, to get more resources, to build more buildings, whatever the case is. I love that they stick out there and help you out throughout the whole game, unlike the other ships.
Okay, so I do want to say that the box says it plays 1 to 5 players, and I feel like
lies.
I feel like that is a bit misleading. So we're getting the game set up.
Extremely misleading. It's a lie.
So in our first gameplay, we're getting it set up, and we don't even realize until later on, by pure happenstance, that what we're setting up is actually a 3 to 5 player game and not a 2-player game. It was pure chance. We just flipped a card over, and it was like it wasn't even on the map. And we were like, why is it not on the map, double-sided? And so you have this AI, and it worked out fine, but there was a lot of upkeep with the AI, and it wasn't that it was not smooth. There was just a lot of time. Like a good quarter of our game was playing the AI instead of it just like making it so we could play a game together. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. This is definitely 3 to 5. Don't know how the solo mode goes, but I imagine it's similar with most solo games of having to keep up with an AI. But yeah, about a quarter of the time of our 2-player game was spent on this character, and I wanted it to be spent on us.
Yeah, for 100%, this is a 3 to 5 player game. Do not play it at 2. It has an AI that is a very busy AI.
Yeah.
And if you play a solo mode, you have to deal with 2 separate AIs and keep track of both of them.
Yeah.
So you're bouncing around controlling 2 different AIs, just so you have to be able to have area control against. Call it 3 to 5. Don't mislead us on the box. Not a fan of that. All right, so that's my hot take. But also, I think that this is what we showed you before is the plain version of the game, the regular version of the game. But what's being put out there on social media a lot of times is the deluxe components for this game,
which is amazing.
They look out of this world. They're fantastic. Yeah. They have these magnets in the bottom. They hide the values of the ships, all that stuff. Super, super cool. I think, though, that people are being taken in by the production of that deluxe value, or the deluxe version of the game, and they are basing their gameplay off of that. And that is misleading because the gameplay is essentially identical both ways. Yeah. But if this is not as fun as that version, then that tells you that you're thinking more about the components than you are about the gameplay.
Yeah.
So to me, I think that the gameplay needs to be strong, and unfortunately, it's just a pretty simple area control game. There's not a lot of spice. There's not a lot of things that we haven't seen before. It's just you put out some tokens, and whoever has the higher numbers wins. Yeah. That's really what it boils down to.
I enjoyed it more than Ryan did, but that's because he was also managing the AI a lot more than I was. So I was able to enjoy it more. But I will say that I definitely Of the 3 games of Ivy Studios I've played, this is probably my least favorite. I thoroughly enjoyed Moonrakers and Mythic Mischief. And this one was fun. I liked it. And if anything we said sounds interesting to you, I would definitely check out that like super awesome one, because it does look super awesome. But just be wary if you're a 2-player person. I would not call this a 2-player game.
I agree. I think that for being an area control game, this did some interesting ideas. It tried to make that happen, to make a 2-player area control game happen by adding those AI characters. I like that they're experimenting with that. It just, for me, it was a bust. It's not a game that I'm going to be wanting to play.
Yeah.
There's other area control games I would rather play. And in general, in a 2-player, I don't want to play area control games that much anyways. But
yeah. Unless it's like a war game.
This is a pass for me.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos and as they come out. Until then, you can find us in all of these places.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. This game was provided to us by a publisher in exchange for a fair and honest review.
And if you want to see more stuff, check out over here to see something we think you might like.
And over here, we think that YouTube has picked out a great video for you you're going to love. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.